Okay, so when we come to Selenium interview questions, the first question which they ask sometime is like, what is Selenium? Okay, you're supposed to tell Selenium is an open source software testing framework which helps to test the web-based applications, right? Or like which we use like SpiceJet or Orange, that HR Wala application, all that were web-based applications, right? So we used to automate like test and automate like web-based applications across the different browsers, platforms. It has a 4 components like Selenium IDE, RCA, WebDriver, and Grid. Anyways, IDE and RCA are deprecated. We are focusing on Selenium WebDriver. Okay, you're supposed to tell so much. So when you come to Selenium suite, you will have a IDE, RC, WebDriver, and Selenium Grid. The Selenium 2 was a combination of RC and WebDriver. Okay, so combination of those all three is Selenium 3, which we are using right now, that is Selenium WebDriver. Okay, so just we'll see overview what is Selenium IDE, RC, and Selenium Grid. Selenium IDE, anyways, as I told you people, this is deprecated now. No one is using like nowhere in the market. But anyways, just you should know one liner of this. Selenium IDE is a web-based automating testing tool which is implemented on the Firefox plugin. Okay, so it was supporting only Firefox, and using the IDE we can record all the users' action. Okay, so it used to record. Once it used to like launch a browser and all it used to do, right? That used to record as well. So Selenium IDE cannot be record like mouse over keyboard operation. Few things it was not supporting. Okay, IDE do not have capability to launch a new browser and run the test cases. Those all are the like drawback of Selenium IDE. Anyways, we are not using these things, so we'll not like focus more on this. In the same way, if I see what is Selenium RC, Selenium RC is a server that allows the user to create test scripts in desired programming language. Okay, it allows the executing the test script within the large spectrum of browsers. But it used to, when you come to IDE, it was supporting only Firefox. When you come to RC, it was supporting Selenium, that is IE, Firefox, and like other things also it was supporting. Okay, Selenium RC and WebDrive is combination are popularly known as Selenium 2. Okay, Selenium RC alone is known as Selenium 1. Okay, so this thing was the one. Anyways, this RC also is no more in the market, but at least you should know which all are the languages it was and browser it was supporting. So here also Java, Ruby, Python, Perl, and PHP.NET was supporting. Okay, so our main focus is on Selenium WebDriver. What is Selenium WebDriver? Selenium WebDriver is a different tool altogether that was various advantages over the RC, right? Selenium WebDriver directly communicates with the web browser. So like whenever if you just run your test case, which are written, it will just automatically communicates with the browser, and it will do for you, right? Login, logout, whatever the functionality you have written code wise, it will does like automatically. So WebDriver directly communicates with the web browser and uses its native compatibility to automate, right? That is Selenium WebDriver. So the main advantages of this is like WebDriver directly communicates with the web browser. This you are supposed to tell. This is the main one-liner. Okay, when we come, anyways, we are not seeing the grid. What is Selenium Grid? We are not focusing on this, but Selenium Grid can be used to execute the same or different test scripts on the multiple platforms or browsers concurrently to achieve the distribution test execution. So this is kind of parallel testing, okay, which you are running like on the VMs, it you will execute on the VMs, like maybe different OS, Linux, Mac, all this. Also like different browsers which are this parallelly. For that we are using grid. It is one separate concept, so we are not focusing on this. Anyways, if you're telling like you have knowledge on Selenium WebDriver, they'll not ask you this. Okay, so next question is how to locate an element using Selenium. So we have, right, all elements locators. The other way they are rotating the question. The direct question is what are the element locators in Selenium? So another way they can ask how to locate an element using Selenium. So by using ID, name, XPath, CSS selector, link text, class name, tag name, and partial link text. Okay, so first preference is, which is one more question they'll ask here is, which is the fastest element locator in Selenium? So you should tell ID. Okay, first we'll search for ID, then name, then XPath. The things goes on. Okay, in the hierarchical way, the preference is given. So if someone is asking what are the elements locator, it should be in tip of your tongue, so that all 8 ID, name, XPath, CSS selector, link text, class name, and tag name and partial link text. So you should remember this. Next, what are the different functions of XPath? We saw, right? So text function, contain text, this is the thing. Normalize space as same. Anyways, this thing in real time, we are not using it much, but you should have idea. Among this, like whichever I felt important, like I have taught you guys, that is text, contains text, normalize space, following sibling, following, preceding sibling, preceding, descendant, ancestor, and starts with. Okay, so in the same way, the syntax it follows, like when you're doing following sibling, slash following sibling double colon, then the tag name follows in the same way. Okay, and one more thing, starts with is the same as that of input, that is contains if you tell, and if you're telling starts with, it remains the same. Okay, this is how it works, the XPath, different XPath functions. Then next question is, what is the difference between the absolute XPath and relative XPath? This is very important question, okay? They'll check your like real-time experience. Then you'll tell what is absolute. It uses to complete the path from root of an element to desired element followed by the single slash, right? If I have to inspect and do, like first we need to write, okay, HTML tag, then body, like header, body, then TD. We should follow the entire hierarchy, right? Okay, HTML tag, the body. If I want to get into some element, I have to follow entire structure by using a single slash. Okay, they'll ask in the two ways. They'll ask you what is single slash and what is double slash, or what is absolute XPath and relative XPath, two ways. Okay, so it uses to complete the path from root element to desired element by following single slash. Though if they ask like what is single slash, you should tell, okay, if you're using a single slash, it will be, the access will be there for the particular node, and if you have to trace that particular element, you have to follow the entire HTML hierarchical structure. Okay, if you come to relative XPath now, like you can simply start by referencing the element you want to go from there. For example, if you give double slash and if you give some element, it will, wherever it is in the DOM structure, it will just locate that particular element when you're using the double slash. But in the case of single slash, you need to trace that element step by step. Okay, so this is absolute XPath, relative XPath, or single slash and double slash. Okay, then what is difference between the single slash and double slash? As you guys saw here, single slash starts the selection from the document node. It allows you to create an absolute XPath. To create absolute XPath, we are using a single slash. Okay, double slash starts a selection matching anywhere in the document. Okay, single slash, like it starts selection from the node, particular node. Double slash, it will find anywhere in the document, right? Single slash we're using to create an absolute XPath. Relative, like double slash, we're using to create a relative XPath. Okay, next question, like many interviewer they'll ask you just to check your thing, like what is WebDriver? Is a class or interface? So you're supposed to tell WebDriver is an interface. So WebDriver driver equal to new Chrome driver, Firefox driver, Internet Explorer driver. So WebDriver is interface, Internet Explorer driver, Chrome driver, Safari driver, all these are classes. Okay, how to capture a text from the web element? How are we capturing a text from a web element? Driver.find element by XPath, you'll give the XPath, and if you get a dot get text, if you use, you can get a text of that web element. Okay, so how to capture a backend attribute? I taught you guys, right, how to find a attribute. So you will find that element dot get attribute, whichever the type if you give, whichever the attribute, and it might be your class, it might be your any like ID value, name value, any value if you want, that if you'll equal to sign is there, the left side of that, whichever is that attribute you'll give here, then you can get the attribute value. Okay, so the last one more question, what is the difference between is displayed, is enabled, and is selected? Right, so we'll see first what is selected. This method determines if an element is selected or not. Okay, so it the method itself tells, right, it is selected or not when we use a select class. I taught right in class. So how are we able to create an object?
Checkpoints.
Yeah, how are we able to create an object for select class? Then by visible text, all that is there, right? So any particular element, if you want to see, okay, is it selected or not? Or in that case also we can use, or in checkpoint, radio button, those like is selected or not, there also we can use. It returns a true if the element is selected and false if it is not selected. Okay, it is widely used in the checkboxes, radio buttons, and the options in the select. Understood, right? So that much you should be able to say. Okay, just read once or twice, then it will be there in your mind. So next is displayed. Anything like that method determines if the element is displayed or not. It returns true if element is displayed and false if it is not. Okay, it will check. So web page is nothing but combination of so many web elements, right? So it will check if you want to check any text box, is it displayed or not? Is it thing or not? So in that case, we'll check, we'll find the XPath of that, and dot is displayed. If you do, it will return true or false. It will return true if it is displayed. If it is not, it will return false. Okay, next is enabled. Okay, this method returns once if element is enabled or not. It returns true if the element is enabled, or it will return false. So these things where you'll find, for example, in few applications, till you enter your user ID and password, login button is disabled, right? So that you can check. Okay, before entering the user ID and password, is enabled is true or false? Before entering a user ID and password, it should be false. And after entering a password, again, you can take that element and check, is it enabled or disabled? Then it will be enabled, then it should come true. That validations you can do. Okay, in that way. So how to select a value from the drop down? When we come to drop down, might be just assume like in the drop down you have 28 states or a few cities, how you will select a value from those. So how do we do? Select class, whichever is there, we'll create an object of that and we'll find that element and we will keep it here in one element, right? Web element will keep in one web element, then we'll create an object for select class. All right, here you can give expected condition present if the element located. You can give that also by using like explicit wait, or directly you can give that element also. Sometime it may fail. In that case, you can give all explicit wait methods already there, right? You can give, or you can give this directly, this element, whichever you found, right? Select method, you can give it here. Then after you create an object for that select class, you can do by using select by visible text, select by index, or select by value. So visible text will take your string value, select by index will take your integer value, select by value will take your internal options tag is there, right? Inside that, whichever the value is there, that will take. So select class will have so many options, right? That will be there inside the option tag. When you do inspect, you'll be able to see. Right, we'll move on to next question. How to check a list of multiple boxes, multiple or not? Okay, we'll see, right? So in that we have like same way. Is it a single select or multi-select? How we'll check? We had, right, in our thing like single select and multi-select, which are the for practice which I gave you guys. So in that, if it is a single select, like that's fine. If it, how you'll find it is a multi-select, so you'll create an object for select class. If you give a method clause is multiple, if it returns true, then it is multiple. If it returns false, then it is single select. Okay, we have a method called is multiple to make out if it is a single select or multi-select. How to capture all the links present in the web page? I taught you yesterday, right? How to find the links, all links. Links where it will be there in the anchor tag, right? Inside the anchor tag, inside href. So directly you can give by using the XPath /a, or you can give a tag name by a. Both it will work. So that will return when you do driver dot find elements, that will return list of web element, right? When you iterate these elements, then if you do a get text of individual element, you'll be able to get all the links present in this. Got it? In that way. What is difference between the find element and find elements? This is very important question, okay? Driver dot find element and driver dot find elements, is that right? What it does? So driver dot find element is a method, returns a web element. Okay, it will return single web element, right? So then when you return this, if target element is not found on the thing, it will give no such exception, no such element exception, because that element was not found. Then what it does, so you should remember this, what it returns only one web element. Okay, what it does in the case of the element is not found, no such element exception it will throw. These two things you should remember. Okay, when you come to driver dot find elements, this method will return a list of web element. List of web element. This will return only one web element. This will return a list of web element. So driver dot find elements, if you do, then you need to iterate each and every element. If now here, if it was not found, it used to just throw no such element exception, right? What it does, if not found any element on the current page as per given element locator mechanism, it will return an empty list. That is, it will return a list, but it will have a zero value. If you just check, okay, if you're giving some X path, and if you're doing like driver dot find elements, okay, that none of the elements are there, or it is not found at all. In that case, what it does, it will return zero. The size of that list will be zero. That is nothing but empty. Understood, right? In that way. So it will not throw any exception. Okay. So one more thing they'll ask here, twist and ask, okay, for example, you have login box, okay, you have found the XPath, one match found is there. There also, like, can I use driver dot find elements? Of course I can use. So same thing again, it will return one element, okay, and that will have a value. For example, this is in the case of when only one element and you are using driver dot find elements, okay. So it will return list is one, it will work. In the case when you're doing 2 match, 3 match found, right? Just think you have found one XPath, there are 5 match found, and you're using driver dot find element. What will be the scenario? So you have 5 match found, right? When you do just enter 1 of 5, 2 of 5, 3 of 5, 4 of 5, 5 of 5, it will go, right? So if you give, there are 5 match found, that XPath you have found, and if you have given inside, and if you're doing driver dot find element and you're getting a text of that, it will always, cursor will go for first element. 1 of 5 is there, right? First element. That answer interviewer will expect from you. Okay, so you should know when there are 5 match found and if you're using driver dot find element, and when there are 1 element and you're using driver dot find element. That is what the scenario is in the real time. Okay, how to capture the selected option from the multi-select box? So we used in our class, right? We created an object for select class, then we gave it in the input, then get all selected option we did to get a all selected option from the multi-box, right? Get all selected options is the method to get all the options. Okay, then how to get first selected option from the web list? So we have a method for selected option. If you want to get only one first selected option, we have a first selected option. That method we can use. Same by creating an object of select class, give it as an input. Then after creating an object for the select class, get first selected options. That will give you a first selected, whichever the option is there, that value. Okay. Now next is how to capture all the values from the multi-select list box. The same question, right? How to select all the values means all option, get all option. Get all option, we have one more method, right? That option will create or get all the values in the box. Then what are the different weights statements and how many different form of each other? Like what all are the weights are there? One is normal weight, implicit weight, explicit weight, and fluent weight, right? Normal weight is like it causes the currently executing thread to sleep, means execution pauses. Okay, internally means like whatever it was doing, it will just pause. Thread dot sleep. So that is normal wait. So in real time, to be frank, we are not allowed to use thread dot sleep. somewhere by hiding and all we can use, but your manager or someone, they'll always ask you to not to use 3 dot sleep. If it is very important and all, we can just hide and use, but avoid using. If it is very, very important, like, okay, your other weights are not helping out, in that case only you can use 3 dot sleep. Okay, when someone asks you, you're supposed to tell that. Next, what is implicit wait? Implicit wait is a set for entire duration of the WebDriver object. Suppose you want to wait for the certain duration, let's say 5 seconds before each element or a lot of elements on the web page to load. Okay, now you wouldn't want to write the same code again and again, right? As I explained to people, when you're describing a web, like some wait for that, you just think you have login, user ID, password, login button, and so other like for sign up, so many elements are there, right? Maybe like few elements are taking more time and few are taking less time. So when you give like web implicit wait as 5 seconds, it holds good for entire like web page. Like if you have 100 elements, it holds good for so many. Internally it divides time. Okay, think that maybe you have allocated 5 seconds, your user ID is taking 4 seconds, it will wait for so much, then it will enter. If your password is taking 3 seconds, it will wait for that also. Think if you have if your login button is taking 6 minutes, 6 seconds, in that case, it will fail implicitly. Okay, automatically that it will be applicable for all the elements in the web page. That is what implicit wait. Okay, so how are we supposed to, we cannot wait for specific web element. It will not be holds good for one particular web element. It holds good for all the like elements which are present in the structure. So what is the syntax? Driver dot manage dot timeout dot implicit wait, and you're getting timeout, time units in seconds. So timeouts means like whichever the file, it will wait for so many seconds, whichever you have given here. After that, will give your exception. Okay, no such element or something it gives. Okay, so explicit wait. What is explicit wait? You should know the syntax. I taught in class, right? Explicit waits are intelligent waits that are confined to a particular web element. Okay, they'll ask you like, what is difference between implicit wait and explicit wait? Now, this was for entire HTML page, right? For all the elements when you're declaring. Explicit wait is for particular element. As I said, you know, I know that login button, after entering user and password, somewhere I know it is taking 10 seconds. So explicitly I need to give for safer side some 15 seconds, right? Wait for so many seconds, at least give some extra time. After that also, if it is not loading, then throw an exception item. So how do I do? WebDriver wait is the thing, okay? I'll just create an object for that, okay? And once I create an object, wait, whichever the object I've created as a wait, right? Wait dot until expected conditions. What is the expected condition? Presence of element located. I'm telling, wait till this element is found. Okay. And by dot, I need to give that element. This is my element. Okay. So this is the explicit wait. First, I'll create an object for WebDriver wait. Here I'll pass driver as an input and I'll say so many seconds you need to wait. Then to that object, wait until expected conditions. Okay. Then what is the condition I need to give? So you need to remember this. Okay. Next, fluent wait. They'll just expect you to answer theoretically here. They'll not ask you like to write a code and all. Just they'll ask what is fluent wait. For example, you are giving the fluent wait for some, take it as a 20 second. Okay. Then you're telling polling every 200 milliseconds, means every 200 like millisecond is nothing but 2 seconds maybe, right? So it will check for that frequency. So you're telling wait, you have created a object of that fluent wait that is taking driver as an input. Then with a timeout 20 seconds, polling every 200 milliseconds, right? Means check in that frequency. Check every like 2 seconds, every 2 seconds, okay, 2 seconds. If it is found, okay, fine, it will move to next element. Okay, if it is not found, again, it will check after 2 seconds. So that frequency is that, right? That is fluent. Ignoring not found exception class. So I'm telling, okay, ignore this thing if it comes between that frequency. Okay, that is about fluent wait. How to handle web-based alert pop-up. So how to handle a pop-up we have, right? Because when you go to alert, you cannot inspect and you do not have any proper, like any HTML structure or any DOM structure do not have a for a pop-up. So how do you do? So if you want to handle a pop-up, you need to switch to that alert, right? Alert. So driver.switch to dot alert. This is alert is your method, and this you'll create the object of this alert interface or a class. So once you create the object of this, what you'll do, alert.accept means it will click on OK. Alert.dismiss, you can click on cancel. Sometime you'll have like to get, you have some message on the alert, right? You can do get text, or sometime you'll have their box to enter the text. You can do send keys. Okay, so we have 4 methods: accept, dismiss, get text, and send keys. Okay, those many you can use. So they'll ask you how to handle with the alert. You should tell always the alert will not have any like DOM structure, or we cannot inspect. If you want to get the access to alert, you need to create an object of that. You need to switch to alert. And once you create an object of that, like you can just click on OK by doing alert.accept or alert.dismiss or alert.getText or send keys. These are the 4 methods. Next, how to handle frames. Driver.switch to dot frame, right? To perform an operation. So how to handle a frames, they'll tell you. So in real time, what happens is, just think, okay, you have taken the one match found properly and you have inspected it properly and you're finding that element, but when you are doing it from Eclipse or from your editor, you are getting like you have done everything correctly but no such element. That means you have a frame. Just do right click and see this source or this frame. Maybe 2 options would come when you do context click, right click. Okay, so if you have a this source or this frame, that means you have a frame. So you cannot have access to the element which are inside the frame. So for that, you need to do driver.switch to dot frame. It will switch. Okay, what the frame will take, maybe a frame name or a frame ID or a web element. Again, 3 things it will take at the input. Okay, just follow the notes for that, whichever I have given. Okay, so once you get into the frame, again, if you want to access the element which is outside the frame, it will not understand outside again. Okay, for that again you need to give a switch to dot default content that will come out of the frame. Okay, how to check whether the element is present inside the frame or not? Right click on the particular element. If it has a this frame or a sometime it will not have this frame, it will have a this source or something, source keyword or this frame. In those 2 cases, you are inside the frame. Then you need to go inside the frame. Okay, how to perform a right click on the in an element? How do we do? If you have to any do keyboard or mouse related action, how do we do? We need an action class, right? Action class will do for us. So I'm creating an action ACT equal to new action that will take driver as an input, and which the object I created ACT dot context click. Okay, and I'll give that element whichever I want to click a right click. Okay, and ACT dot perform. Understood? This is about right click. Next question is how to perform mouse over operation. Mouse over, again, mouse and keyboard related. I said it should be done by using a action class, right? So I'm creating an object for that. That will take driver as an input. Again, if you want to do move to element, that is just mouse over operation. Okay, right click is context click. They'll ask you what is the thing, how can I do right click on the particular element? You should tell, okay, I need to create an object of action class that will take a driver as an input. Then once I create an object, I have a method called context click, and that will take input a web element. On whichever the element I want to perform a right click, I'll give that element as an input to the context click, and I'll do dot perform. Then you'll be able to perform a right click. In the same way, if I want to perform a mouse over, I'll create an object for action class that will take driver as an input. And if I do ACT dot move to element will do mouse over action for me. That move to element will take that web element as an input. Okay, then I'll do dot perform. Okay, this is how. Then how to click on a button link without using a click. Okay, so how you'll click on that? If you don't want to use a click, just dot click method is there, right? I don't want to use, but still I want to click on a button or something. So you'll again, I can use the enter, right? Enter button. If I do again, that is nothing but click only, right? Okay, user ID password. What I do in real time when I'm typing my user ID in my Facebook account and I'm passing password. Do I go to and click on thing? Just I'll do enter, right? Same way. I'll create an object for action class that will take driver as an input. Action.send keys.enter. If I do, I'm entering this thing. Then if you do dot perform, it will be done without using a click method. How to perform drag and drop operations? So you will create a action class object that will again take driver as an input. Action, drag and drop, source web element by destination web element. Okay, this was my source web element, destination web element. I'm telling drag and drop to here, dot perform. Okay. And next question is, okay, what is the assertion? Okay, guys, I have not taught you assertion in TestNG. This thing I'll cover in framework structure. Okay, like how are we doing the expected and actual value we're taking, right? So those expected and actual value validation should be done by assertion. Okay, we have few methods like assert true, assert false, assert equals to expected string, actual string. These are the existing methods. Okay, assert equals to boolean true, false, and you can give some method. Okay, this assert, if you're giving, see, assert equals. Okay, just think that I'm taking expected value. Rekha Ram was there on the home page, right? This is my expected. I'm passing. Okay, actual value, I'll read it from the web element by using get text. I'm here passing string message. What is string message? For example, if these two are not equal, right, in case maybe my expected and actual are not matching, in that case, it is test case is failed, right? In that case, it will pass whichever the message you are giving here, right? It will just print that message. Understood, right? In the same way, we have many assertion, but real time will be using this thing, assert equals to the string wala only we use mostly. Okay, or sometime assert false also we use, only 2-3 assertions we'll use some in this, that will be using in framework structure. How to handle SSL certification pop-up? Okay, this is not in ask work, just leave it off. How to get less data, test data from Excel file? So I showed you people, right? Create an object file 5 input stream. You'll create an object of workbook factory. Then you'll ask to create a workbook factory dot create. You will tell give file as an input. Then once you get into the workbook, I'll get into the sheet, then I'll get into the row, then I'll get into the column, then string cell value. This is how you'll accept the data from Excel. How to write a data? So I've not taught you people how to write a data. Anyways, this is not that important, but you can just see it once so that you'll be able to answer. Same way. Again, like you're telling to which file you want to write a data. So you'll give that file. Then you'll create a same workbook. You'll go to a sheet, you'll go to a row, you'll go to a cell. Then you'll, instead of get row value, whichever we did, get cell, whichever we did, right? Instead of that, once you get into the particular cell, you'll tell cell dot set cell type and you will give the value there. Okay, and set value you'll set a type or what it is, a string type or something, you just pass this to the cell. Then you'll type whichever the value. I'm passing a string, so I'm passing it as a Google. Okay, then you'll tell file inputs output stream, you'll give a file path, then you'll just do this. Okay, anyways, they'll not ask you this 99%, but 99% they'll ask this. So I have covered this. Just read it once, this thing. Okay, which framework are you using in your project? So anyways, we'll be covering hybrid framework, which is a combination of data-driven and page object model and combination of TestNG that we'll be covering. Anyways, data-driven, you know, right? How to read the Excel and all, that is data-driven framework. And modular is, anyways, we're not getting into modular. Now, next we'll tell what is the limitations of Selenium framework. right? Selenium supports only web-based applications. So if I have to go to any desktop-based application like Word document or something, any other applications maybe like which are used inside like some medical shop, those kind of, this Selenium framework will not support. Okay, it do not support the bitmap comparison. That is one feature. Selenium does not have any inbuilt reporting. We don't have, right, inbuilt reporting. When we come to TestNG and extend report, there we can see. But Selenium basic, when we said, so till there, like we don't have any reporting. For reporting related, companies have to depend on third-party tool. As there is no object repository concept in Selenium, maintained by object becomes difficult. Obviously, right? As you guys were saying, like when you're creating a class and all, it was like as you go on, like when you have like 2, 3, 4 classes, when you're combining that, it is very difficult, right? Okay, which element it is reading, which element it is writing, how it is taking access and all. Okay, anyways, they'll not ask you the limitations, but at least one or two you should know. Then how to take a screenshot, anyways, these things also will cover in a framework, but just you can go through. Anyways, I'll cover this taking screenshot and all in real-time project. Okay, how to explain the automation test life cycle. So how it happens in real time is requirement analysis. So in real time, how it happens is when you get a user story, right? We all dev testers, we all sit together. Once you get a sprint will be of 15 days, that is 10 working days. Okay, Monday to Friday, Monday to Friday. So you can tell it as a 15 days sprint. Okay, once this in particular sprint will receive a story. Okay, maybe this time I'm developing login logout feature. Okay, developer receives that. We all like a BSA, Scrum Master, tech lead, and entire testing team, dev team will sit in a sprint planning. We'll start picking up the stories. Okay, so okay, we picked one login logout feature and one device adding. Okay, adding a device. Two feature we have picked up. The thing developers will and QA required is yes. Matlab testing is required for the story. It is yes. So how the thing starts is they'll start developing a story. Till then, like we'll analyze a story and we'll start writing all positive and negative scenarios. See, writing only positive scenarios and testing only positive scenarios, it is not a valid testing. Okay, always testers should work in such a mind that you should try to break the application. So you should think always in that way. What if I do? It will break. That is the job of testing. Okay, when you come to testing. Okay, now we have written all the positive negative scenarios. Like after a week or something, developer is done with the development. He'll give the story to you for testing. Okay, he may give in a jar or he may deploy to some VM and he'll give it to you for a testing. Okay, then what you're supposed to do is you'll pick it up. You'll start you'll first see the happy flow. Happy flow is nothing but positive flow. You'll test that. After that, you'll start testing all negative scenarios. Okay, I'm entering the character. Okay, how should be my user ID password and how it is taking. If I give 5 characters, if I giving 10 characters, how it is following. So I'll possibly like I'll test all. If I find a defect, I'll just raise the defect and route it to a developer. Else, what will I do is I'll just make it as pass. Then once it is set for thing, they'll give the demo and all that is their part. Then next I'll just test it. And once the testing is done, I'll start automating that. I'll automate that and I'll include it in my regression suite. Okay. Now the point is what is regression testing? Regression testing is the one now thing that already I had 5 features which were automated and there in my suite. Now in this sprint, I have automated two more features, right? They have introduced 2 more features. I have tested them and I have automated and I have included in the regression set. So I should check in such a way that I have introduced 2 more features. So because of this feature, my existing feature should not be broken down. Okay. You should not be like you're adding a device and your login thing is it is failing or it is breaking. It should not be like that, right? For that, we're doing the regression testing all together once. Okay. So that is so. Now, when you come to automation test life cycle, requirement analysis. Okay, the story is ready. Now I should see, okay, what is the things am I supposed to automate in this? What are the tools do I select? Then then I should see, okay, proof of concept, like what all the exact concepts are there. Okay, is it automatable or not? We should see. Okay, now after you, once you waste like 1 week, again, if it was not automatable, that is waste of time, right? That also should be taught in initial level. Then, okay, framework development. Okay, that is how the feature starts. Automation test lifecycle, requirement analysis, tool selection, POC, segregation. So this can be a automation test lifecycle. More than that, framework development, you can tell it, or a particular, it is not for any individual feature. It is holds good when your project comes to you as an entire team, and you will start your automation from the day one. Okay, then how do you do? First, you will analyze the analysis you do for the requirement. Then you will select, okay, Maven is required for this. TestNG, which version is required? Okay, Selenium, which would be helpful? Then do I need Chrome or Internet Explorer? All the tools you'll start like finding out. Okay, then you will segregate. You might have received some 100 features, among that which are automatable and non-automatable. Then you will start developing your common methods, common libraries and all, right? Then that is called, a combination of that is called as a framework. Okay, so next is like, after that you will develop, once you develop a framework, you will test a script or test cases. Then you will give for review to your tech lead or a manager. Then you'll generate a result generation. Then script will go for maintenance in the regression suite. Okay, so what is entry and exit criteria in automation? Okay, so what is entry criteria? Entry criteria is application should be stable, right? If your environment and application itself it is not stable, do I have to, or can I automate like in one happy flow? No, right? I'll struggle. So application should be stable for an entry criteria. Application environment setup should be ready. Everything should be ready. Automation plan should be ready. Framework should be ready. Feasibility study should be done. So how can I like all possible and negative scenarios should be covered. That means, okay, this is the entry criteria. What is the exit criteria? All the test scripts should be executed without any script issue. Framework user guide should be documented. Automation test report should be documented. Okay, see, entry criteria is the one before starting the automation testing. Okay, these are the criteria. So it should be stable, environment should be good, and all planning should be there, strategy should be there. That will be coming picture. Okay, exit strategy is nothing but you had 100 features, you have automated them and kept. Now what is next? That is like, if after 3 months also, after 3 years also, anyone should be able to use that test suite. Okay, for that, all test scripts should be executed without any script issue. Means they should not struggle in such a way. You need to create a suite. Okay, that I'll guide you how you're supposed to create a suite and all. Framework user guide should be documented. Means like, okay, this is my framework, which all other methods are there, what is the functionality of that method. Okay, each and everything I should make it framework, and I should keep a document of that framework, so that like once I take an exit after 1 or 2 years, if any new joinees they're coming, I cannot sit and guide them each and every method, right? So you guys also, when you get into a company, you'll get a framework guide, user guide. Okay, if you don't have, you can ask your TL or something, they'll provide it to you. Once you read that, right, they'll give a kitty, and once you read that, you'll be able to make out, okay, where is my this method, base method, where is my login method, where is my logout method. Those structures would be there, and you'll be able to find it out. Okay, automation execution report should be documented. Again, after executing the script, how the document would be there, that also would be there on that. Next question, why is automation and why it is required? Process of automating manual tasks by tool using some scripting language is known as automation. To improve the quality of the product and to reduce the head cut and all, they're using the automation. You can go through this. So all the things like save off money, time, everything, right? And code reusability, so that like instead of executing 10 times by 10 people, I can run my automation test suite and it would be done by one person, right? What all are the challenges you have faced during your automation? You can tell executing the scripts in IE browser, because if you would have like, which I taught in yesterday's class, again, you have to change the settings. Again, sometime IE browser is like quite slow, those things. Okay. And one more thing was, you can tell, like I was automating in Chrome, but then like when there was, it was navigating to new page, or there was a combination of some other application in my current application, sub application was that application used to work only on IE. In order to that, I had to launch that particular thing on IE. So again, switching to IE and all, it was quite complex for me. Okay, that was really challenging for me. Also, I'll give you in other class, like other few challenging things, those things you can answer, because this question also they'll ask you in order to check your capability, like, okay, have you worked in real time or not? Okay. What is the difference between the element not found exception and no such element exception? This is most important question. Element not found exception, when we'll get, it extends the runtime exception class, this class inside the com dot so and so. An exception that is thrown when the specified XML element is not found in the DOM model, right? Then no such element, we'll see now, is extend the WebDriver exception. So element not found exception used to extend the runtime exception. No such element exception used to extend the WebDriver exception class. Okay. These two things you are supposed to remember. So thrown by, using when we are doing driver, WebDriver, find element by, find elements and all, like for example, all this we are doing, right? Then you will be able to see this exception, no such element. Okay. What is different between the quit and close? As I said, you people, quit, it closes all the instances, right? So close, what it does, WebDriver close method closes the web browser window that the user is currently working on. We can also say the window is in being currently accessed by the WebDriver. Okay. That closes only current window. You should know only this much. And quit, it basically calls the driver dispose internally. Method will return or close all the browser windows. For example, child window, parent window, grandparent window, all it will closes. Okay. Difference between the driver.get and driver.navigate. This is also important question. So it is used to launch the URL, particular URL. Always we use driver.get, right? Driver.navigate, it can be used to launch the URL. Again, if you want to navigate back, forward and refresh. For example, think your application is any like Amazon. Okay, you are testing on that and there is one link, and if you want your test case says like you have to click on that link. After clicking on, you have to verify some elements, those elements are there or not. Okay, how do you do that? Basically what you do is, like, you can't do, you initially you will do driver.get, right? Then instead of clicking on that like element, you will just do driver.navigate. You will pass that URL here. Okay, so after you do, then you can, again, if you do forward, you can do back, you can do, then you can do refresh. You have so many features, right? Again, if you want to get back to the main browser, you can get into that. So they'll ask you what all are the other methods are there with the driver. So you can tell driver.navigate, driver.get, again driver.refresh, forward, backward, all this. Okay, these all are the methods. Different way between the assert and verify. This also they'll ask, like just to check. Assert, when the assert command fails, the test execution will abort it. Means when assert, if you tell assert fail, it will just abort, means it will stop the execution. So when the assertion fails, all the test steps after the line code will be skipped. Okay. The solution to overcome this issue are try-catch block. We can use the assertion in try-catch block. To overcome this issue, we have a soft assert and test engine. So what is hard assert and soft assert? They'll ask you one more question. So hard assert is the one, for example, if you have 10 test cases, and if you have hard assert in 5th test case, okay, it will abort the, and if your 5th test case is failing, it will not go to the 6th test case. Okay, it will stop the execution there. So when you're doing the soft assert, so what happens is the execution, it will go to the next thing by, if you have 10 test cases, in 5th test cases, you have given a assert, soft assert that is, then it will go the flow, it will come till 5th test case. Then if it is fail, am I audible?